incredible story of a woman from a parallel universe who woke up in a different reality. And it's the story of Lorena Garcia. On July 16, 2008, a terrified woman named Lorena Garcia Gordo published a commentary on an online forum asking for help. The Spanish woman, 41 years old, said she had awakened in a parallel universe, a world that's not like the one I had left before going to sleep, she said. A world that's not like the one I had left before going to sleep. However, small inconsistencies in various aspects of her life began to convince her that she was in fact living in an alternative reality. The alternate reality of her life, Lorena Garcia, and this is her story. On the morning of July 16, Lorena woke up to discover that her sheets were of a different color. She was confused and disturbed by the fact that they were of a completely different set. It was not just the colors that were different. Not being able to find a rational explanation, Lorena decided to prepare to go to work, a job she had been employed for the last 20 years. Her car was in the same place where she had left it in the night before. She got in and drove off, following the same path she'd gotten used to since moving to her apartment 7 years ago. Apart from the sheets, everything else seemed normal for Lorena. That's until she came to her office. Inside the office building were a few strange people she had not met before, but she did not raise any suspicion. Lorena walked in her own office only to discover that it was a big tag with a different name on the door of her office. It was not her name. And then she thought that maybe she was on the wrong floor of the building, but a quick observation revealed that she was on the right floor. She had gone to the correct office, and it was just that her name had been replaced. Lorena was confused. She wondered if she had been fired and nobody told her. She took out her PC and connected it to the company's wireless network, and there she discovered that she was still on the company list. However, she showed that she was under a command of a different manager in a totally different department. Her head was in a spiral. She immediately checked her credit cards, driver's license, her work ID. They all reflected the right information as far as she knew. The same name, the same photo, the same numbers, the same address. Not knowing what to think, she called her work and told them that she was taking a sick day. The inconsistencies that morning made her think that something was medically wrong with her. She took the rest of the day off and went directly to the doctor's office, and there they tested her, looking for signs of any illicit drugs in her system. The tests were negative. She had no alcohol or drugs in her system. Lorena returned home and began to look over her personal files, banking statements, personal checks, bills, reviewing them twice. All showed the correct information. So a thought came to mind. What if this is amnesia, she thought. What if something happened to me and I can't remember parts of my life, she thought. She immediately logged online and began exploring the internet. She saw that the news and the main reports were the same as the previous night, so there were days, as Lorena knew, she had woken up living a slightly different life. It had been 6 months since Lorena had left her boyfriend, with whom she had spent 7 years. She had recently started dating a man, Augustine, who lived in the street next door. They had been dating for only 4 months, and she knew him well. When she called her new boyfriend's number, someone else answered. They told Lorena that there was no one by the name of Augustine, or that it coincided with her description of living in that no one, or it did not coincide with anyone living in the description of that house. The news surprised her, since she had spent the last 4 months getting to know the guy. She had even met his son and had begun a relationship with him, but now there was no sign of her boyfriend and his son, and as she passed the day, she found more and more inconsistencies. She had no choice but to go to work the next day and pretend she was employed. Even so, Lorena called and called, but no one had heard of Augustine or his son. It was as if they never existed. That's when she found out she'd never left her ex-boyfriend. They had been together for 7 years, and there was no sign they had been separated. Lorena did not know what to think, what had happened to the life she knew, what had happened to her career. All she thought was that maybe she had a nervous breakdown at some point. severe enough to implant false memories in her head, or at least that's what she thought when she visited a psychiatric clinic. However, the test concluded that she was of a healthy body and sound mind, and the doctors told her that maybe she was under a lot of stress and that she could have freaked out. An explanation she had thought of, but she knew it was not true. She started looking for her boyfriend Augustine, but came back empty-handed. A hired investigator concluded that there was no sign of an Augustine or his son in that city. Her own family thought Lorena was going crazy when she asked about the operation of her younger sister's shoulder. They looked at her in confusion, as Lorena insisted that her sister had recently had surgery on her shoulder. A statement that no one in her family could support, and as far as her family knew, no surgery had been done on any other member of the family. Days and weeks and months passed as Lorena began to discover small but bewildering differences in her life. The clothes in her drawers and closets she did not remember buying. Blog entries she had made for weeks, even days before, were gone. Emails and chats were no longer archived on her computer. However, browsing the news sites and blogs, the world seemed to be the same, just as she had remembered before going to bed that July night. And as the months passed and she could not find answers, Lorena became convinced that she had simply gone to bed one night and awakened in a parallel universe, the world in which her life had been altered by small decisions of her past. What happened to Lorena Garcia Gordo? Did she suffer from a medical condition that made her believe that she lived in an alternative world, or did she really wake up in a different universe? What do you think? Please leave your comments. This is by Anshu Vastava on Infinity Explorers. Thank you for your help. My Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.